Recent survey says 36% of boys aged 11 to 17 gambled in the past year.
Gambling scheme.
Gambling
Prosecutors say
addiction
Beasley
and
was
the
bribed
happiness
to
of
Gambling
manipulate
gambling
is
play.
not a failure of will. It is a brain disorder.
Every day, millions place a bet hoping it will change their lives. Most lose, but the industry keeps growing. If the house always wins, what makes losing seem worth the risk? Well, gambling doesn't sell money, it sells hope. We are talking about something that has become one of the most accessible vices on earth. Global gambling revenue passed $643 billion in 2025, with projections pointing above $655 billion in 2026. For starters, that is larger than the GDP of most countries. And it doesn't just consist of traditional gambling anymore. Nowadays, you don't even have to go out of your way to gamble. Online casinos and betting apps have made wagering just a few taps away. And on top of that, gambling has been way too normalized. Influencers and live streamers expose millions of viewers to gambling every day. Moreover, prediction markets have also gone mainstream, endorsed by major institutions, sports teams, and influential individuals. Trading volume on Kalshi and Poly Market, the two leading prediction markets, has substantially increased since mid 2025. The combined monthly global trading volume on these platforms has risen from less than $5 billion in September 2025 to about $24 billion in April 2026. When the casino fits in your pocket and never closes, gambling can feel like a uniquely modern phenomenon. But in reality, today's industry is the latest chapter in a story that began thousands of years ago. Gambling is not new, it is almost as old as humanity itself. The history of gambling can be traced back thousands of years. In 1638, the West's first state owned gambling establishment opened in Venice, the Il Ridotto, setting the stage for the spread of legal gambling sites. For most of history, gambling demanded effort. You had to travel to a casino, a betting hall, or a racetrack. That physical barrier naturally limited how often people could gamble. But today, those barriers have disappeared. The internet removed distance, smartphones removed inconvenience, and digital payments removed the friction of spending. And on top of everything, algorithms now ensure that gambling opportunities follow users wherever they go. The game has always been the same, but the machine behind it has become incomparably more powerful. And it's a machine that finds users with the least to spare. And like many profitable industries, it does not affect everyone equally. A 2023 Canadian study, which analyzed 74,501 adolescents across 136 schools, found that every one standard deviation increase in income inequality was associated with a 17% increase in the odds of participating in online gambling. In other words, as inequality rises, people become more likely to gamble. And once people enter the system, they do not face equal consequences. Researchers studying gambling in the UK have found that people in lower incomes are consistently more likely to become problem or at risk gamblers than people in higher income brackets. Moreover, the study illustrates that socioeconomic deprivation correlates directly with gambling related harm in advanced economies. And all of these findings are intuitive. Those in lower income brackets have less financial cushion to absorb losses, so gambling harm hits them harder. Ramsay MacDonald, Britain's first Labour Prime Minister who served way back in 1924, described gambling as a disease which spreads downwards to the industrious poor from the idle rich. But a thinner cushion only explains why losses hurt more for certain income groups. It doesn't really explain why losses happen so consistently in the first place. Therefore, we have to acknowledge that capital extraction doesn't just happen by chance, it's actually mathematical. The math is the house edge. Bets are designed so the operator wins in the long run. Regardless of context, the house always wins. Winning is possible, but over time, losing is, so should be the expectation. A Wall Street Journal analysis found that over 2 years, only 11% of internet gamblers had net winnings, mostly under $150. And among the top 10% by volume, 95% of them had net losses, some exceeding tens of thousands of dollars. And in 2025, a Stanford study found that sport bettors lost 7.5 cents per dollar wagered on average. That means that for every $1,000 bet, on average, $75 goes to the house. This is also why gambling operators pay influencers and celebrities absurd amounts to promote their platforms. On the surface, it seems to contradict basic economic theory. Firms exist to maximize profit and minimize cost, and marketing is a cost. So why give away that much money? Because it's not an expense, it's an investment. The payout to the influencer is small next to the lifetime value of the players they bring in. It's the cost of acquiring customers who are mathematically guaranteed in aggregate to pay it back many times over. Economic inequality creates financial desperation fuels gambling, the mathematics of gambling deepens that desperation, trapping people in a cycle that enriches the industry while perpetuating the very inequality that fuels it. Then, what begins as an economic problem eventually becomes a public health problem. According to the World Health Organization, an estimated 1.2% of the world's adults, which is around 63 million people, live with gambling disorders. And the future is in dire trajectory. A 2024 Lancet Public Health Review found that adolescents who gamble are significantly more likely than adults to develop gambling disorder. That's 26.4% compared to 15.8% respectively. As gambling reaches younger generations, it will not merely drain wallets, it will erode financial discipline and normalize the pursuit of quick wealth. But real wealth is built through productivity and consistency. Gambling promises the same reward but through probability. If financial desperation drives people toward gambling, then gambling only deepens the desperation they hope to escape. Remember that what chance gives, chance can just as easily take away. So ask yourself, how can something be an escape if it ultimately becomes your prison?